Hello, I am here to do my Monday morning musing because Sunday self-reflection didn't inspire me yesterday. I was doing other bits and pieces. So I'm here today. I'm going to start by sharing an insight that I had around my hormonal cycle. I'm just going to read, or at least use what I just wrote into a period cycle group. And then I'm going to dive into a reflection on the transits from last week and then a reflection on the transits for the week coming. If you want to skip the period stuff, the timestamps will be down below. You can see it in the video. So one of the apps that I've been playing with recently is called the Stardust app. I can't remember who introduced it to me. I wish I could. However, someone had posted they had like a profile associated with their period and where they bled in the moon. So I instantly just, oh, look, a profile and something that gives me insight into myself. And so I downloaded the app. It's a nice novelty app. It's not necessarily one that's got enough data points for me to navigate through actually tracking to tracking. So it is a good reminder app. It is not the best tracking app. And so the reminder app tells you stuff and it will tell me when my period's coming. It will tell me where the moon's at, but it's not got the information to track. So as a reminder, it's really cool. As a tracking tool, not so much. I'm going to stick with temp drop. And if I really want to deep dive into tracking, I use the Mandala from my period coach, which can be found at, I think it's periodcoach.com/ETRC. Enter the red circle. So periodcoach.com/ETRC. And I'll pop that link down below. Her Mandala is, in terms of capturing the geeky details and everything that we need to know about whether our cycle is in flow, her Mandala is really, really cool. So I did, however, find this little forecast interesting. So I opened the app this morning because I was just exploring, and it had the cycle forecast. The weather in your hormonal ecosystem is looking sunny. I'm like, oh, nice. And then I'm like, and how do you come to that conclusion? Because I'm not feeling that today. And then it says increasing estrogen is noticeably juicing your mental acuity and physical pep. Now, what I know of myself as I move into perimenopause, or am well into perimenopause, so just for anyone that doesn't know, perimenopause can start 10 years before we go into menopause. I am definitely noticing a shift in my energy levels, in the way my PMDD plays out. So PMDD, for anyone that doesn't know, is a great big long list of words. Let me see if I can remember. Premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And I've had that, I suspect I've had that all my life. It was diagnosed in 2015. The way to get it diagnosed is to track. I met Stasha at about the same time, and she has been a godsend to me. Stasha is my period coach, if I didn't say her name before. So what I know about perimenopause is that estrogen decreases. And so usually, or more accurately, in the past, I would have my PMDD symptoms, and then almost the moment I started bleeding, they would lift. And it was like this wave of cleansing almost that came through. So people used to complain about their periods. I'm like, I love my period. It is the best gift ever because I feel so much better. However, the last probably 6 months worth of cycles, I've noticed that that PMDD intensity, which is nowhere near as intense as it used to be, it's now condensed down to like regular PMS. It doesn't lift on day one. It takes till probably day 4 or 5 for it to lift. And what I'm realizing is it's the estrogen. The bigger epiphany, because I then went down the rabbit hole of searching for estrogen-rich foods, because I don't want to have to take estrogen if I can help it. Like, how do I get this naturally? How do I get this into my system? Now, estrogen-rich foods are also generally high in a chemical called amines, which I have a food intolerance to. I mean intolerance, not allergy. So allergies will give you, you'll start swelling up, you'll react, you'll get rashes, those kinds of things. That's not what I mean. The intolerance is completely behavioral. And so when I studied this with Stasha a couple of years ago, I looked at them all and I'm like, I can't eat any of them. So things like nuts, broccoli, avocado, there were a couple of other ones there as well. Soy, which I'm not a huge fan of. Like, there was just, I looked at them and went, oh, well, that's great. But I also didn't need them at that time. what I thought hysterical as I was looking this morning is they're all the things I've been craving over the last month. So avocado, I am absolutely loving right now, and I don't seem to be reacting to it. So my reactions from my intolerance used to be mood-based, and it was a significant contributor to my depression, a significant contributor to my anxiety, significant contributor to me acting in an aggressive manner and becoming a bitch, basically. And so I tend to avoid those foods. What I've realized over the years, so there's a couple of things that shifted that for me. One was learning how to, I want a better word than regulate, because it's not really regulate, it's feel into and process, but process feels too logical, my emotions. So I learned to interact with, engage with, feel my emotions. There we go, there's a word that I like. And as a result of that, I can, even if I am reacting to something, I've got better self-management skills and also less stress. Kids growing up, there's a whole pile of factors in why the food doesn't have such an impact on me, or it still has the same impact. I'm just able to regulate it better and manage it better and feel into it better. There was a train of thought there. If I knew that train of thought, it would be... So over the last month, I've been craving these foods, and I've been following through on those cravings. So in the past, I used to crave them and I wouldn't follow through because the consequences were too significant. The last month, I've been able to follow through on them. So I've been having smashed avocado on sourdough bread. That's my favorite thing to go out to and order at the restaurant. And there's a bunch of things coming through. I also, yesterday, the reverse of this, so the kids helped me create the cards for human design flashcards, and then they've been testing them, and they require bribing to do that because as much as they love me, they aren't all that into what I'm into. But I really needed someone to bounce off. It was a 2-person job to make it really quick and easy. So I was typing, they were reading from the charts. They needed bribing for that. And the bribe that I gave them was that the bribe that they chose was McDonald's for dinner. And so I went to get them McDonald's, and normally I'd just get them, like, whatever they were having, I would have myself. However, having been in this human design world, it's like my body says no. And I checked in like several times because the convenience of just buying that when that was what the kids were all getting was high. I'm like, okay, so McDonald's, no. McDonald's, no. So not McDonald's. So I got the kids McDonald's, and then I came home and I cooked myself something else. My point, though, is that tuning into my body, and I would have felt sick after McDonald's. Like, McDonald's is not great food. I was contemplating potentially, and this was the only offer that it's like, if you're going to do McDonald's, do a Caesar salad, which is lettuce and chicken. I'm like, I can't justify paying for McDonald's Caesar salad. I came home, I made the most delicious chicken. One of the estrogen rich foods is garlic, which is one of the other foods that I've been craving now. While garlic is technically fail safe, which is the diet system we followed, it is not Amy safe. And so generally I limit my garlic. Last night, though, I crushed garlic, and I crushed a lot of garlic. Like, I doubled what it called for in the recipe, maybe even tripled. I can't remember. But I crushed the garlic and I smushed that into the chicken. I covered it with pesto, which is nuts, which is also high in estrogen. And then I covered it in breadcrumbs, which is not high in really anything, but gee, they taste good. And then I made myself some sweet potato, I want to say chips, but they kind of didn't really quite get to chips. They were an interesting kind of half between baked sweet potato and crispy chips, and they were delicious, but they were a weird texture. And added some lettuce leaves to it. My point, though, is that this leaning into following my body, and I imagine the estrogen in the garlic was what I was craving. So today I will be seeking out estrogen-rich foods and allowing myself just to trust, what am I being drawn towards? What am I being called towards? And I thought some of you may get value from that. So trusting into our body, listening to our strategy and authority to connect with what's going to work for us, that is the gold to me. And then noticing that my cravings over the last month is my body reaching out for estrogen, and I just know. So as much as it's great to have all of these lists and be following the lists, at the end of the day, it is so important that we just trust our own inner callings and our own body and build up the support for that and understand why. Because sometimes we're called to do things that aren't going to serve us. Sometimes we're called to do things that are the best thing for us, and we dismiss them. So that it would have been very easy for me yesterday to dismiss, body says no to McDonald's, but it's easy and it's convenient, I'm just going to make myself eat it. I listened, I came home, oh my God, was the chicken good. It's also easy to dismiss. I really feel like, so the other day I said to my husband, I really feel like cucumber, capsicum, and carrot for dinner. And his resistance to going and buying that, I understand, because it can be inconvenient. He was already going to the shops. I wasn't adding go to the shops list. And yet cucumber is one of the estrogen rich foods. I don't know whether capsicum was or not. I believe it was. But it's just trusting into what is my body calling out for, and as much as I can. Now, it's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to be convenient. It's often even not going to be practical at all, but as much as we can, listening to that. So that's my period insight and self-reflection around that, and trusting. The more I trust myself, the more I listen to myself, which leads into the human design quite nicely. All right, so for the last week, so on Wednesday last week, I had an interesting interaction with someone where I felt highly emotional. I was unpacking it with my coach on Friday, and we realized that gate, I think it's 35, 36, had come into play in that conversation, which I just found really fascinating. And it was highly emotionally intensive for me. And what I found with that 36, so 36 came in, let's grab my other charts. 36 came in a while ago. Now, up until this point, other than one day, and I say a while ago, so it's before the 22nd of January, which is as far back as these sheets go. Up until this point, so up until this week, so the 14th, oops, go to, so the 28th of January, it dropped out of it being a defined center for me, it being the emotions center. So 36 connects to the emotional solar plex, and something else was defining that for me up until the 28th. So on the 28th, which was the beginning, well, the Saturday just before last week. So today is the 5th of February. No, today is the 6th of February because it's Monday. So from the 28th, so this entire last week, the 36 wasn't attached to a defined emotion center, which means, for me, which means that if I was in the presence of someone with a defined emotion center, their emotions were going to take precedence. Up until then, that 36 had been playing out in a way where it had been defined for me. So it became my stuff and allowed me to play out a definition. However, this week it has been undefined, and oh my God, the stuff I've had around this and the emotions and the emotional turmoil. So I just wanted to share that. So that shift from the where it was defined by me and the transits, which is the transits are neutral. They don't come with stuff. Everything played out reasonably because it has been around for at least a month. And I expect it's going to be around for quite a while. So we're at 36.1 at the beginning of this week, 36.2 at the end of this week, but the 36.1 goes back to the 8th of January. And so that's a month that we've been in line one. And so I suspect this is going to be around for a while. So I'm going to choose to learn to work out how I navigate this better. So when it is undefined, like when my emotion center is undefined through the universe and myself, and so generally it is undefined, the intensity of other people's emotions play out on me, and the intensity of how much I reflect back is magnified massively. And generally these days, I've got to a point where I can ask, is this mine? The other day, however, though, I was in a space of having been triggered. And by triggered, I mean I'd become emotionally reactive to something. And in that emotional reactivity, I didn't have the capacity to ground myself. And it played out in very interesting ways. I'm going into too much details around that. There was a heightened emotional turmoil for me. Where I could generally ground, I needed something external to ground me. I was given that external grounding in the moment, for which I am grateful. And then somebody else came back in and poked at the emotions. And again, I don't think they were my emotions, but I reflected them back fully and very, very strongly, and didn't have it and felt them fully, didn't have it in me to navigate and say, this is not your shit, Amy, let it go. And one of the people in the conversation that I was in was texting me saying, breathe, Amy, let it go. And I was so sucked in by it that I couldn't. Human in an experiment learning. So 36. So, and what I want you to take from that is recognizing where we've got transits that are coming off an undefined center, they will be what we magnify and amplify to others. So I had thought these transit charts, the little information bits, were the only bits that we needed to worry about, the little bits that are highlighted. What I'm realizing is that actually the unhighlighted bits could well get amplified more. So 36 connects to 35. The person I was talking to, I know, has that 35, and I was clearly reflecting back emotions. So yeah, that was an interesting experience. What else have we got here? I'm going to start looking at the ones that aren't highlighted. I don't know that I've got examples for any of the others. That one just came through. So what have we got coming up? So timestamp for upcoming transits. So we are currently Monday the 6th. I am going to endeavor to do these on Sundays because this calendar starts on Sunday, or I'm going to have to just fork out the extra $60 and get it reprinted so that it starts on Monday, because this is going to be insane making otherwise. My intention is to shift to Sundays so that I'm not doing it Monday mornings before kids going to school. All right, so we've got yesterday we had the moon in 33. The sun is in 13 for the majority this week. It switches. I'll come to that in a moment. The Earth is in 7. Venus moved into 63 overnight last night, or in the evening last night. Moon in 7. All right, so today we've got Mars moving into 35, which will be with us all week. We've got the moon doing its thing. I'll go into the moon in a second. We've got the sun in 13. So it's in 13 today and tomorrow, and then it moves into 49 on Wednesday the 8th in Australian Eastern Standard Time. And then we've got the Earth in 7, moving into 4 again on the 8th, Wednesday morning, Australian Eastern Standard Time. And then what else have we got? We've got nodes moving into 27 and 28. So let's pull up a couple of those and have a look. This little post-it note's going to drive me. I want it where I can find it, but I don't want it on my stuff. It's annoying. But for the moment, I'm just learning the names of the planets. That's my goal. My very easy method just speeds up naming planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. And so hopefully I will get there, and hopefully I'll start to assign the symbols. So just on a thing, and then I'll go into the, I'll pull up some gate stuff. My own, so Mercury, I don't know what the little, what the remembering is, but I seem to remember him. He's the first, so he's easy to remember. Mercury's the little devil looking dude. The one that looks like a woman is Venus. The one that looks like a penis is Mars. And then we've got Uranus, Jupiter, and not Uranus, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and planets. Now, Neptune is the little trident, and King Trident is in Neptune, or King Neptune had a trident. I don't know. That one I seem to do all right with. The trident is Neptune. The P at the end for Pluto is very easy to remember. It's just those middle ones. So I'm playing with how to recognize the symbols and link the symbols to the planet names. So it's Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus are the three that I'm still looking to embed into my mind. All right, let us bring up the very, very cool cards that I've been working on, and then I'm going to do a rant about the cards at the end. So I'm going to start with the ones that the universe is forming first. So we've got 463. This is logic, mental ease mixed with doubt. That's the name and the description from the Richard Rudd circuitry book. It is a blend of water and fire with mountain and water. So double down on water. Water is emotions coming through. It is a projector channel, which means it needs recognition and invitation to come to life. And it is in the collective understanding. So it connects the crown to the Anya. So what I'm starting to do, what I'm starting to play with, maybe I'm going to do my rant now, is looking at, rather than reading the entire story of the channels and the gates, looking at what's behind it. Now I need to do a little bit more work myself around understanding the elements. However, this is starting to move from reading stories to understanding the background so that I can just have little prompts, and I can, ideally where I want to get to is that I can look at the body graph, understand the type, understand the circuit, and understand the centers, and that's enough to offer a decent, intuitive, collective consciousness piece around this. So this is in the collective circuit of understanding. So instantly I know that it's not about us as individuals. It's about the collective. It's about, in essence, doing what I just said. It is leveraging the collective consciousness to understand things. And so 63.4 is going to be about leveraging the collective consciousness to understand. It's the connection from the crown, which is inspiration, to the Anya, which is ideas. So the inspiration comes in, the ideas are formed. The hexagram names here, so 63 is after completion. So it means that the inspiration is coming in after we've completed something. So it could be a reflection, or it could be the new idea coming in. And then 4 is youthful folly, which suggests to me without that inspiration, without the completion, without the history to come into this, we're going to be naive. But when we combine youthful folly and our willingness to step into the unknown with the wisdom that we get after completing something, that is how we get logic. So this to me is how I'm going to start unpacking the channels, and I hope you get value from it. This is an opportunity for us to tap into that willingness to step into the unknown, the youthful folly, with the wisdom of having completed stuff. So this is a transition time, the inspiration for new beginnings after completion into the unknown is what's going to come through in this. This is active for us. All right, so 463 is active today. So the 4 is in the moon. Then we've got 4 comes in. So we get it today, it disappears tomorrow. And then it's back again on Wednesday the 8th for 2 days. So I'm just looking at where it's coming through. So the 4 is in the earth, and then the 63 is in the little woman, and the little woman is Venus. So Earth and Venus combined. So both of those are fairly close to us. Well, Earth is exceptionally close to us. It's quite a grounding reality form. And then Venus is one of the closer planets to us. And so the influence of this is probably going to be quite strong. So allowing yourself just to tap into, so I know it's called logic, but it's mental ease mixed with doubt. It, to me, the translation that I'm going to have for that is that it is the blend of the wisdom of having completed coupled with the delight in playing in something new. So it is the wisdom of completion, mental ease, mixed with the unknown. So it is wisdom and uncertainty combined. That's a powerful combination. If you are in business, leverage that for reviewing what projects you want to bring into play this year. If you are setting goals in your personal life, leverage that for what have you succeeded at? What do you want to bring to life? What's next for you? To me, this is a great gate, a great channel for us to be leveraging to tap into the greater inspiration and turn it into ideas. And yeah, by all means, leverage that. So it is active today with the moon from 9:53 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. But it is also going to be active universally from, what time does that come in? So what am I looking for? 63.4. So 4.1 comes into Earth, 9:29 Australian Eastern Daylight Time, Wednesday the 8th. So in about 2 days from when I'm recording this. So that's one to be tapping into, is this logic, and it's called logic, and they described as mental ease mixed with doubt. I'm going to describe it as the wisdom of what you've already done with the fresh eyes of stepping into the unknown. I have a vision of Elsa in Frozen 2. So she's got the wisdom that Frozen 1, she had this amazing breakthrough when she went up, she created ice towers, she stepped into owning her power. In Frozen 2, we've got her standing on the precipice in the song Into the Unknown. That to me is the epitome of this. That is it is that moment of she's had success. She conquered the bad guy, they won, she brought her sister back with her true love, and she built a snowman, all of these things that she achieved after completion of Frozen 1, and then she's at that precipice again in the Into the Unknown. So it's after completion, she knows she can handle the challenge on some level, and yet there is also this hesitation of, will I follow you? So Logic 463, Into the Unknown by Anna. That's the song that's going to go with it. I don't know whether we'll get a song for all of these, but I really quite like that for this one. All right, so Into the Unknown, Logic 463. What else have we got going on? We've got Transitoriness. So this is the channel that fucked me the other day. All right, so we got 3536. Let me find that in my slides. 3536. Timestamp 3536. Transitoriness, being a jack of all trades. No wonder that got triggered. Being a jack of all trades. So one of the things that I pride myself on is not being a specialist. I am a jack of all trades, and I really love the quote. I shared it on my timeline the other day. Jack of all trades, master of many is a master of none, and sometimes better than a master of one. And that last piece, sometimes better than a master of one, is so often left off. And for me, yes, if we want a specialist, there are times and places to seek out specialists. And the most common example given, it was given the other day, and I didn't go down this rabbit hole, but it clearly had an emotional impact on me in the moment, is if you were having heart surgery, you would want the heart surgeon that had specialized in hearts. Absolutely. If I was having heart surgery, I would want a specialist. However, if I'm a human, while I want the specialist to perform my heart surgery, I want the generalist that sees the entire body system to assess my health, to assess my well-being. I want House, who doesn't look at one part of the body, he looks at the body as a whole. I don't want the heart specialist who knows heart valves. I want the human awareness that sees everything and the interconnections. Because, yeah, the heart specialist can fix the heart valve, but generally he doesn't have the people skills to help you get on a better diet so that you don't have to go back in 6 months and have that heart valve cleaned out again. So for me, the being a jack of all trades, this is a passionate area for me. Now, this is the connection of the solar plexus to the throat. So this is an emotional voice, which is exactly what came to life for me the other day. This is now active for the next week in this. I must warn my husband. This is now active for the no, it's longer than a week. It is active until the 23rd of February. So any of the conditioning that I've got around this, and there is a load of it, that is what I'm going to be working on and exploring and experimenting with. Voicing emotions clearly, and not being as consumed. Now, if we look at the hexagrams here, we've got 2 fire-earth combos, and they are literally the inverse of themselves. So we've got the fire and the passion, and we've got the earth. So in theory, this should be a very grounded, passionate message. In practice, for me, my groundedness not so great, my passion very, very, very high. And so my passion comes through, but it can often be misconstrued as aggression. It can be misconstrued as too direct, too harsh. Now, sometimes that's me, that I'm coming in with a tone that conveys a defensiveness, and sometimes that's because other people aren't open to passion. So fire earth is an interesting combo, and this has got both combos there. So it's got progress of 35 is fire over earth, and then we've got the darkening of the light, earth over fire in 36. So I see lots of fire coming through, and so for me it's easier to tap into fire than earth, and there'll be other people that are finding that passion that they're being faced with from the fire and trying to ground it. And so it's navigating how we bring both, how we can have the passion and the grounding together. And we've got 3 weeks, I think it is, to play with and experiment with this. It is a universal 35, 36 transitoriness. I don't know what that word means. I'm going to Google it. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of some of their word choices, and I am just going to Google, and then I am going to share. So give me 2 seconds. Transitoriness. An impermanence that suggests the inevitability of ending or dying. Transience, transiency, the lack of enduring qualities. All right, so let's take that awareness back to this. So instantly, the first thing that comes up as I read that is we're looking at the emotion center. Of all of the things that are the most transitory, they are our emotions. And our expression of our emotions is just as transitory, because once a word is spoken, as much as it has an impact, it disappears. It's not being so spoken emotions. This is a very transitory space. All right, this is also a manifestor channel. So if you're into manifestation, the next 3 weeks are the time to be speaking your dreams to life and bringing them in. It is a collective sensing, so it is not about us as individuals. It is manifesting for the collective. It is bringing to life our greatest hopes and dreams. So again, if you're in business, this is the time to look at your hopes, your enemies, the message that you've got in your business. If you're in personal world, I'm going to go to relationships here. Look at communicating your emotions with your partner and aim to bring both the fire, the passion, and the earth, the groundedness, and see what comes to life. See what passions are waiting to be reignited if you are more grounded, and see what grounding is available to you if you are more passionate. This blend of fire and earth is delightful. Alrighty, what else have we got? These cards are fun too, just as a side note. So at some point you'll find a link down there for the next week or two. You probably won't, but these are cards that I'm going to create and turn into flashcards. And that leads me to my rant. I'm just going to check. So logic and transitoriness, we've done the full collective ones. That's all I'm going to do for that today. I'm going to go into my discussion on why my cards don't have stories. And you've just seen me play it out twice. So why my human design flashcards are lacking in story and even keywords, timestamp here. What if instead of looking at each gate individually, we look at what makes it up and the connections that influence the energy that it brings? Each gate is part of a whole, and each whole is part of the gate. The channel name in the description shows us what, when paired with its counterpart, this gate can become. Beyond the 1 + 1 = 2, the channel is more than the sum of its parts, and the part is more than half of its whole. It got esoteric very, very quickly. This is a post I wrote this morning, so if I look like I'm reading, I am. Each gate comes from a hexagram. The hexagram is comprised of 2 elements. There are 8 elements in the I-Ching. I'm just looking for my cheat sheet, but I'll just use my mess of cards instead. So we've got fire, water, mountain, wind, earth, heaven, lake, and thunder. And they are comprised of yin and yang and makeup, and there's a whole story that goes with that. I'll do a video on that somewhere else at some point. So the hexagram is comprised of 2 elements. These influence its energy. If we learn the 8 elements, we can understand the 64 gates. That's how you learn the I-Ching. You learn the 8 elements and you see that they are matched over. And I've got, and I'll pop a proper shot of this, I've got little cheat cards. So the table drives me insane. So I've got little cheat cards and there's 8 of them for each of the elements. That's in my camera. I've got a screen. Now the base, I'll put them up on the screen so you guys can see one of them. So in the middle is the base, and I'll use wind as the example. And the reason the base is in the middle instead of the top is because when you create an I-Ching hexagram, you start from line 1, which is at the bottom, and you work your way up to 6. So in this instance, line 1 is the broken line 2 is a solid line 3 is a solid line. And then you get another one of those trigram elements on the top, and they create a hexagram. So if we do wind over wind, for example, you've got gate 57. So that's how we use these, and they are fun, and they are way better than the table, and I like it. And it hones in on, rather than using it as a dry thing, it hones in on what is the base element and what is the top element, because that's the pieces that matter. It's not just finding the number and reading the story to me, it's understanding the components that make it up. And the components that make up the hexagram are the elements and the yin and yang lines in the I-Ching. All right, each channel is also associated with a type. Learn the types, you'll feel the strategy and the theme for each channel. So the one we were looking at before was a projected channel, which means invitation and recognition. Learn the types, you've got a grounding. Learn the types and know which gate or which channels fit in which type. You'll get a feeling for the strategy and theme of that channel. Each channel has a circuitry focus: tribal, collective, individual, and integration. Learn the circuit, learn the circuit, and again, you get a sense of the focus of that channel. So I think the 2 we were looking at today were both collective. Some are individual, some are tribal, some are integration. Understand that piece and you've got what you need. Now, you only need to understand one of these and you've got a great insight. Finally, each gate operates from a center reaching to connect to another. So when we were looking at the 35-36, we had the emotions reaching to the throat. That's going to come to emotional expression. We've got the elements of fire and earth. That's going to come to passion and grounding. We've got the names. So progress. So 35 is all about the progress, speaking into the future. 36 is all about the darkening of the light. It is the darker side of the emotions, I'm guessing. And then the transitoriness, because emotions are fleeting. The spoken emotions are even more fleeting. We will say things in the heat of the moment that we may not mean. We will say things in the heat of the moment that are worth listening to. So that transitoriness is, what are we letting flow past us that we're missing? And what should we be letting flow past us because it wasn't meant in the moment? I'm clearly very passionate about this. So transitoriness is, it's a manifestor gate, which means in this space, we initiate, we inform, we invite others on the journey. It's not waiting for the invitation, it's giving the invitation, but it's the informing and the initiating that comes through in the manifestor. It is collective, sensing. what's going on in the world around us. When we're expressing our emotions, there is an element, and this is what completely fell apart for me the other day when this channel came into play. There is an element of sensing how the world is going to respond to it. Now, there is also an element of not letting that shut you down. So are you being too sensitive around what you share, or are you not being sensitive enough? And it can go either way. It's a double-sided coin. If we're expressing emotions, other people are going to receive those. Now, sometimes other people aren't going to want to receive those. Sometimes they're going to try and shut us down. Sometimes we need to be more conscious. This plays out on both sides of that coin. All right. Where'd my post go? Passion, 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 passion. Fiery passion. When did this kick in? I don't think it's actually kicked in yet. So 35. Oh, 35 came in at 03:55 a.m. this morning. It has kicked in. So 35, 36. Fiery passion. Best time for me to be recording, of course. If you don't like my passion, we're probably not a good match. If you do like my passion and you want to tap into your own passion, we're a great match. I do also have, generally speaking, a reasonable amount of grounding, just not always with my emotions. That's more for me on the splenic side. All right. So where did I get up to? Each channel has a circuitry and a focus. And finally, each gate operates from the center, reaching to connect to another. Learn the centers and you'll understand the gate. Any one of these focus points allows us to bring insights to ourselves and others without relying on mind reads and interpretations filled with bias. This is where we get to get rid of the story. I hate the story. I just want to know the skeleton, and I want to paint my own picture, as I've done today. I acknowledge my line 2 and my line 5. My line 5, predominantly, my Heritic, my profile is Heritic Hermit. My Heritic right now is challenging everybody else's assumptions. And my Heritic is coming out and coming with my own flavor. My Hermit is trusting that I have the answers. So line 1 will investigate and they will repeat what others have said because they're not yet trusting themselves. They trust the information. Line 2 trusts themselves and line 3 trusts their experiences. So at the moment, not at the moment, I use a blend of all these. We all use a blend of all these, but predominantly I'm a 2 and a 5. So 2 is me trusting my wisdom. Give me enough information and then I'm going to make it my own. And I'm going to get called out because, and called out works double-sided in this. I'm going to get called out. I'm going to be invited to speak because I come with such a unique perspective. And I'm going to get called out because I've got nothing to back it up. And it's not that I have entirely nothing to back it up, but I'm relying on my own wisdom. And at the moment, I'm relying on several other books. And I do bring in enough, one, that it does become credible, but line 2s are often misunderstood. And then my line 5 wants to share it. That's why we're here, because my line 5, my learning is about sharing with others. My learning is done best through sharing with others. And so that's my 2-5, influencing my preferences, and then also influencing my preferences. So the 3313 channel and a bunch of other stuff. So as much as I know that I want to approach human design in this way, delving behind the stories and the fairy tale language in many of the descriptions and the poetic language, poetic. I knew there was a better word than fairy tale this morning. It's the poetic language that requires interpretations. I want to look to the structure and I want to look into the bones so that I can paint my own picture and create my own poetry. I understand not everyone will want this and they may prefer their own approach, perhaps finding comfort in the keywords or the stories or the poetry from somebody else. Fortunately, the human design philosophy is all about understanding our own design and finding our own way. So if, like me, you prefer the structure and creating and discovering your own stories, then this system will probably work for you well. If you like finding your own structure underneath it, buying my cards won't be enough. You're going to have to create your own. If you want the structure without having to do the deeper work, my cards are great. If you're seeking the stories, then you're going to need to find another reference and a resource. And in my group, I recommend other resources and you'll prefer a different system. That's fine. Finding the right guide for us on our own self-discovery journey is essential. My own approach is a blend of logic, understanding the frameworks, and intuition, trusting that the collective wisdom will speak to me in the moment that I need it. Use your design to find your way. So that little snippet will be pulled out and put into the course because I can. In terms of self-reflection, I've spoken for way too long again. I'm just tuning into if there's anything else that I want to share. I'm not going to go into any of the other gates. I'm going to turn that over and not even look at it. Yeah, I trust that's enough. I hope you got some value. Comment below. What was the value you got? What are the burning questions that you have? What are you loving? What are you learning? What do you need to know more about? I'm going to respond to the questions. I'm going to respond to you. I'm going to play in this space. I'm going to respond to my environment. I'm going to respond to questions asked, and I'm going to respond to the collective wisdom that I'm tapping into, because responding is my primary strategy. I'm also going to inform you what I'm up to. I'm going to invite you, and I'm going to play into the other channels, because I don't believe that we just have one strategy. Well, some people will just have one strategy, but not everybody. And so tapping into that, but that's a video for another time. I hope you enjoy your week. I hope you express your emotions with passion and fire, and come with a little bit of grounding and bring it back to earth when you need to. Enjoy. I look forward to connecting with you soon.